let's talk about the carbon tax. This is a very divisive issue that's been going on in Canada for quite a while now. Pretty much ever since it was put in place, people have been complaining left, right, and center that the carbon tax is not good. So what took place? So a couple of years back, Trudeau put in this carbon tax. It was on industry as well as consumer carbon tax. At the end of the year, based on your living situation and your income, you would get a carbon tax rebate back for a certain amount, depending. Generally speaking, over the course of that time frame, the majority of people actually saved money on the consumer portion because the rebate was actually more than they would have spent. Now, I understand there's the argument that businesses didn't do quite as well, and I'll get to that. So now what's happened is Pierre Poilievre and his gang have been saying for years, carbon tax got to go, axe the tax. He's all about his slogans or whatever. So when Mark Carney stepped in replace of the Liberal leader for Justin Trudeau and became our prime minister, he said, okay, well, if that's what Canada wants and if that's what Canada thinks and they don't want it, then if it's too divisive, we'll take off the consumer portion of the carbon tax and allow them to have that if that's what Canadians want. Now, we have to remember, because we're part of the G7, we are required to have certain things in our government and spending in order to be part of the G7. For example, military spending. We've all heard them talk about how much money you need to spend on the military in order to hold up your end of the bargain in the G7. But there's also climate accords in the G7 as well. And in order to trade with these companies, you need to have some sort of carbon tax going on in your environment in order to bring down levels of pollution. Now, I know there's people out there that are going to say, well, we don't pollute nearly as much as other countries and they should be held responsible more and, whatever. And yeah, you're right. The biggest polluters should be held accountable, but the biggest polluters aren't in the G7. So we can't control them right now. The best we can do is make agreements with the group that we have and hope that the G7 slowly expands over time to add other countries that want to be involved in climate change. So overall, in order to trade with the G7, Canada needs to have some sort of initiative, some sort of green initiative to show that we're reducing emissions in our country. So we took off the consumer portion, but we had to leave the business portion. Now, some people are going to say, well, the United States isn't doing it. Yeah, and look at the relationship they now have with the rest of the G7. They don't have the respect anymore. So we need to show that we're going to hold up our end of the bargain and work with climate change. Now, I understand the argument that says that he just reset the carbon tax to zero and didn't officially take it out. I get it. It's because Parliament was prorogued. You can't technically cancel the law because they're not officially in Parliament. I get that. But he set it to zero because you can't change the law without having a new law to replace it. He didn't want to cancel the whole thing. It needs to be reworked. And I understand there's way better ways that we can implement green policies. But until we get one of the green policies, we have to have something going on. So because he just became prime minister 2 months ago, and he's in the middle of an election campaign and he's trying to run the country with all the tariffs and things going on down south, the guy's busy. So for now, we need to hold our bigger corporations and our bigger polluters accountable for their change to the environment. We have businesses in Alberta that literally drilled oil wells and have left them wide open and there's a bunch of holes in the ground. And what do the Conservatives want to do? They want to give them government funding to fill in the holes that they're the ones that made it in the first place. So we need some sort of carbon tax. Yes, it needs to be reevaluated. Yes, it needs a new proposal and it needs to be agreed on by members of Parliament. Yes, I get that. But we need to have something in place in the meantime in order to continue trade with the other countries in the G7. The sad part is the people that used to actually make out well from those rebate checks now aren't going to get those checks anymore. And you know what? The price of gas might have went down 17 cents, but give it 2 weeks. I guarantee the price is going to go right back up. Why? Because the gas companies know how much you'll pay for it. And if you're willing to pay that amount, once the carbon tax is gone, now they're just going to pocket that money. So it actually was a bad idea to cancel the consumer portion of the carbon tax. But everybody wanted it and everybody complained about it. So Mark Carney said, okay, well, if it's too divisive in the country and that's not what the country wants, then I'll cancel the carbon tax. And now you have people out there complaining that they're not going to get their rebate check. So that's my explanation of the carbon tax. If you're a conservative voter and you think the carbon tax should never have been used, or if you have another solution as to how we can be still part of the climate accord without the carbon tax, I would love to hear your suggestions. But for so far, all I've ever heard from people is the carbon tax is too much. The carbon tax is too much. Carney wants a higher carbon tax. Carney wants a higher carbon tax. Yeah, because we need to be able to participate in global trade. So if you're a conservative voter and you're angry about the carbon tax, then tell me, what's your recommendation? What do you think we should be doing? What's your suggestion? Do you have another recommendation for how we should implement safe green policies in our country? What are your ideas? You should be able to share those ideas with us. But if all you're going to do is come into my comments and tell me carbon tax is bad, end of story, then I'm just going to delete your post. So let's talk. What do you think about the carbon tax? Why does it affect you so much? Why is it bothering you? What does it make you feel? Tell me where you're getting your information about the carbon tax. Show me the links that you're getting or the information that you're getting so that I can fact check you. And I will tell you about the information that I'm getting and you can fact check me. Everything that I've said, you can pretty much just type into Google and it'll come up. But I want to know where you're getting this feeling that the carbon tax is so horrible. I want to know the propaganda behind it. Who's telling you that the carbon tax is horrible and why? Let's start having some real conversations instead of calling each other stupid and saying that we're brainwashed and whatever. Let's talk. What are your opinions on the carbon tax and what do you think we should do about it? Elbows up, Canada. We still need to work together.